Life has got in the way and I couldn't upload anything for the past 2 weeks, but I finally managed to travel to somewhere else, and this time the somewhere else is the town of Bansko where I'm taking you with me. The funny thing is that because of a malfunctioning of one of my SD cards, I lost my entire A-roll footage, but I couldn't resist to show you this beautiful gem. Even more, there are some interesting things about it. And this is the hotel I stayed for 3 days, the Grand Royale Hotel, a relatively big and luxurious one, as most of the other hotels, although you can't of course compare it to, let's say, Waldorf Astoria. As soon as I dropped my stuff in the room, I took a walk in the town to find what it looked like. I've never been here before, and it was interesting to find what it has to offer. Once, Bansko was a small village, but because of its location it started to grow slowly, with more people coming to live here, and in the recent 2 or 3 decades it became a popular ski resort in the winter as a tourist and hiking resort in the summer. I was expecting that there would be some hotels, but I was surprised to find there are so many in the outskirts of the old village. And they continue to grow all around. That's why in the outskirts you can find some constructions undergoing, but all in all, the area already took shape with streets, lanes and sidewalks. Anyway, you can find everything you need in most of these hotels: pools, gyms, saunas, jacuzzis, of course, bars, restaurants, halls with billiards and snooker tables and more. Yes, of course, there are also smaller ones, as I think it should be, to give the opportunity to everyone to come here and to visit Bansko. I found also that there is even a relatively large co-working space with rooms and apartments for digital nomads who can stay here for as long as they wish. So you won't be disappointed of your stay. Yes, in this time of the year, when the summer and autumn has already gone, while the winter is still to come with the snow, there are not so many tourists, but I don't complain because it's always a bit embarrassing to have crowds everywhere around you. That's probably why I could experience the town in all its beauty. Going towards the center of the town, you come to a more residential areas with groceries, tech stores, clothes, hairdressers, markets and more, while the ambience is still calm and quiet. And wherever I go, there is always a cat or a dog coming to sniff my camera and to take part in the video. Nice. Yes, Bansko seems to be a very quiet town for now, and I'm walking along this residential area with quite no one outside. And I was surprised to find there are some white roses blooming so late in the autumn. In no more than 10–15 minutes of walk, I reached the center of Bansko and the main street. Here the houses started to change their look. They appeared to be older and with their own ethnic touch. Yes, there are some which are built relatively recently, but even they, or at least many of these newer houses, they were built in a way to comply to the architectural style of the older ones in the area. The true old houses in the town are very specific and interesting, but I'll tell you a bit more about them in a minute. For the moment, I enjoyed the ambience of this cobblestone street with all these restaurants, pastry shops, stores which offer various souvenirs, many of them carved on wood, as also plenty of kitchen wooden utensils or decorative carvings you can buy as a souvenir, traditionally handmade leather bags, belts, and so on. Everything is as it should be expected for such a touristic spot with many ski runs in winter and plenty of hiking trails in Pirin mountain in the summer. Anyway, the most interesting thing to see in Bansko is the old town with its unique houses, some of them decorated with wall paintings. The architecture is distinctive enough to have its own name, the Bansko Fortified House. Built in the 18th and 19th centuries, these houses typically have storage areas on the ground floor, while living spaces are on the upper floor. A fascinating feature of these houses is their fortified core, an inner sanctuary, often a cellar hideout or a reinforced room used in case of fires or raids. The houses are mainly made of stone with wooden walls on the upper floor. Most of the old houses in Bansko are still privately owned, and thanks to modernized interiors, people continue to live in them. However, some of them has been declared a cultural monument. The lanes between them are very narrow and have a great ambience of the ancient times. I'm still grateful I came here in a period with less tourists because I was able to enjoy the look of them and to try to convey it to you through the video, although it's quite near as impressive as to see them in reality by yourself. I totally can understand why people like it so much and why the old village grew so much. Another interesting building is the Church of Saint Trinity, built in 1835. In 1850, a stone bell tower was added, doubling as a clock tower. As many of the churches in villages or towns, this one has its own courtyard, separated from the rest of the town by stone walls. The first thing that impressed me on the exterior was this small stone carving. The cross, I get it, but these two moons with stars are intriguing. They reminded me of the Islamic symbol, a moon crescent with a star. I don't know if there is some kind of linking to it, I doubt it, or is it purely a decorative thing? For sure, this is not something you can find on a church. Anyway, the courtyard is small and calm with some big old trees, or they seem to be old because of their size. You can make a tour around the church in the courtyard, and there is even a statue of Yavrov, one of the prominent Bulgarian poets. And here is again the tower with the clock on it. But the interior of the church itself is very interesting. As I entered, I tried to take some footage of it, but they warned me that it is not allowed, so I can show you just a glimpse of the rich iconostasis, the columns painted with interesting patterns as the wooden ceiling, also painted with stars and geometric pattern. And in the vicinity there is this tiny chapel which reminded me of the one I saw in Lozanets. You can find it in my video about this village on the Black Sea coast. By the time it was already dark outside and I felt I am hungry. As I mentioned already, there is plenty of restaurants in Bansko. Most of them have a typical Bulgarian interior with many traditional elements specific to this region and the country in whole. In the summer, you can have a meal on the tables outside, enjoying the weather and the town, but in the cold, it would be a good idea. You can enjoy the colorful decorations in front of every one of these glowing restaurants, full of traditional elements from the ancient everyday life as chariots, barrels, plenty of flowers even in this late autumn, pumpkins which are part of the livelihood in the region. As I can assure you, it was a difficult choice to pick a restaurant. It's interesting to mention that the locals decided to create a specific illuminated sign with the inscription Unique Bansko. It's a sort of guarantee for the quality of the restaurant and the food served inside, and there are strict requirements for such a sign to be granted. I opted for this one, named by Kote, and I don't regret it at all. The interior was amazing with all these small details from an old time. The old stoves and dishes, which are for many years no longer in use and being purely decorative, the big tree trunk in the middle of it, the tablecloths with traditional motifs, colors and patterns, the stone fireplace, all of it. As I don't even mention the meals. For the 3 days I stayed in Bansko, I came here each evening, even if for lunch I visited some other great places too. And it's not a sponsored video, believe me. Anyway, if it happens to visit the country and to travel around, make sure you don't miss the opportunity to take a trip to Bansko and the region. You won't be disappointed.